Part 1, Chapter 1. The ash that never settled. It had been 3 generations since the bombs fell, but the scars of the desert never healed. In the Mojave's barren dunes stood Shelter 27, a bunker barely visible from the surface. Its steel door was battered, as if fate itself had tried to pry it open, but inside, strict order reigned. Here, Jarek was born and raised, a young technician who dreamed of more than the grey fluorescent routine. He had heard stories of Vega's lights, of cities rebuilt on ruins, and of Caesar's legion, men who called themselves soldiers but carried the hunger of lions in their eyes, plundering and enslaving all in their path. One evening, when the power suddenly flickered and the shelter sank into darkness, Jarek found an old recorded message in a locked terminal memory. The voice was his father's, a man who had left the shelter years earlier and never returned. If you hear this, Jarek, then the time has come. The Legion has plans for the shelter. You must choose whether to resist or to make peace. Chapter 2. The Lion's Shadow. In the days that followed, Jarek found signs of the Legion's presence. A burned caravan just miles away, the corpses of merchants chained to posts, their flesh branded with the Legion's iron. Fear spread through the shelter. The ruling council gathered. They were divided, some wanted negotiations, others prepared for war. Jarek was torn between the urge to protect his people and the fear of kneeling to a tyrant. One night he slipped out to an old lookout post in the mountains. There he saw the Legion's camp, rows of tents, guards at the fires, and in the center, a prisoner tower with banners of a lion's head flapping in the wind. It was like a living beast, waiting to tear the shelter apart. But Jarek saw more. A group of slaves, women and children, treated like animals. Rage burned in him, yet he knew an open fight would mean annihilation. And so, a seed of compromise began to grow. Chapter 3. Blood or Bread. When the Legion's envoy came to the shelter, he wore a red cloak and spoke with a voice as cold as the steel of his machete. Caesar offers you a place in order. Obedience, tribute, your young men in his army, in exchange for protection, refuse, and you become ash. The council argued through the night. Some saw opportunity, protection from raiders and mutants. Others saw only chains and blood. Tired of endless talk, Jarek took matters into his own hands. He slipped into the Legion camp and secretly met with one of the slave leaders. Together, they hatched a plan. To sabotage the Legion's food stores and free the captives. Not open rebellion, but a knife in the dark. A compromise between blood and bread. Chapter 4. The lion roars. The strike came at dawn. Jarek and a small band crept into the camp, set fire to the Legion's supplies, and cut the chains of the slaves. Confusion erupted, shouts of soldiers mixed with the cries of the freed, but it came at a cost. Jarek was nearly captured, and a friend from the shelter gave their life to cover the retreat. When they returned, the shelter was divided. Some hailed him as a hero, others condemned him for provoking the lion. The envoy returned days later, this time with no promises. You have chosen enmity. Caesar does not forgive. But he does not forget courage. You are no lion, but perhaps a wolf, and wolves sometimes serve a purpose. The Legion pulled back, not defeated, but weakened, and perhaps grudgingly respectful. The shelter had gained time, but no one knew for how long. Standing on the bunker's roof, with wind full of sand and smoke, Jarek realized the truth. Compromises in the wasteland were never clean. They were dirty, full of blood and guilt. But sometimes, they were the only way to survive in the lion's shadow. Chapter 5. Aftermath. Weeks after the sabotage, an uneasy silence lingered over the shelter. The Legion had withdrawn, but few believed it was over. Jarek felt the weight of every glance, some filled with respect, others with resentment. One night he was summoned before the council. The chairwoman, an old woman with sharp eyes, spoke plainly. You've made us both friends and enemies, Jarek. If Caesar returns, we must be ready. And you will lead our defense. Jarek felt the burden fall on his shoulders. He wasn't a warrior, just a technician who dreamed of more. But fate had dragged him into the lion's shadow, and there was no turning back. Chapter 6. Blood in the Sand. A caravan left the shelter to trade with merchants by the Colorado River. Jarek joined, eager to see beyond the bunker's walls and forge alliances. But the journey turned into a nightmare. Legion scouts struck at dawn, whips cracked, machetes flashed in the sun. The caravan fell quickly, but Jarek and a few survivors held their ground behind a wagon. When the smoke cleared, many of his people lay dead, and this time the Legion had taken no prisoners. Among the fallen, Jarek found a message carved into wood. "Caesar sees you. Soon your loyalty will be tested." The meaning was clear. The Legion hadn't forgotten the compromise. They were only waiting for the moment to force his choice. Chapter 7. The Lion's Temptation. The night after the attack, a stranger appeared at the shelter's gates. She bore the Legion's marks but wore no armor. Her name was Diona, a messenger of Caesar himself. She made Jarek an offer. "Caesar sees strength in you. Come to the camp. Speak with him. Perhaps you can secure your shelter's future without more blood." The council erupted. Some saw a trap, others saw survival. Jarek was torn, his heart yearned to fight, but reason whispered that no bunker could stand against the Legion forever. In the end, he followed Diona across the desert. They traveled in shadows, through ruins and twisted landscapes. On the horizon rose Caesar's fortress, burning in firelight, and inside, Jarek felt the noose of fate tightening around his neck. Chapter 8. Wolf's Heart. Caesar sat on his throne in a tent of blood-red cloth. His gaze was cold, his words carefully chosen. "You burned my stores, you stole my slaves, and yet you stand here. That means you are more than an enemy, you are a wolf, and wolves can lead packs." He gave Jarek a choice: swear loyalty, lead his people as part of the Legion, or watch them be crushed. Jarek felt the silence press down. Diona looked at him with something close to hope. Perhaps even she longed for something beyond endless blood. He remembered his father's words from the terminal: "You must choose whether to resist or to make peace." Drawing a deep breath, Jarek answered, "We are not lions, but we are not sheep either. The shelter is our roots. If you want us, Caesar, you take us as we are, as wolves." A murmur spread among the Legion guards. Caesar smiled faintly, a lion who saw a challenger, not an equal, not yet, but not prey either. He rose slowly. "Then we shall see, wolf, if your pack can survive in the lion's shadow." Epilogue. Jarek returned to the shelter a changed man. He had not bent, but he had not broken the chain either. The Legion stayed away, but their shadows lingered over the sand. The shelter endured. But the price was constant vigilance, and a leader with a wolf's heart, ready to tear, yet also to protect. In the Mojave Desert, where lions and wolves roamed side by side, only time would tell who was predator and who was prey.